The son of late martial arts star Bruce Lee has died. 27-year-old Brandon Lee was killed during a movie set accident today. He was filming a scene for the movie The Crow when he was hit by a projectile fired from a gun loaded with blanks.
Some horror movies are terrifying because of what we see on screen. But for a few productions, the real nightmare happened when the cameras stopped rolling. Fires breaking out in the middle of shooting, cast members falling ill under mysterious circumstances, sudden deaths, and entire productions plagued by rumors of curses that no one could ever explain. Whether it was The Exorcist, Poltergeist, or The Omen, these films blurred the line between fiction and reality, leaving behind a trail of tragedy and unanswered questions. Today, we're taking a closer look at the disturbing true events that haunted some of Hollywood's most iconic horror movies, and asking one simple question: were they just coincidences or something far darker? When Poltergeist hit theaters in 1982, it quickly became one of the most chilling ghost stories ever put to film. But what really makes this movie infamous isn't just the haunting story on screen. It's the series of disturbing, real-life tragedies that followed its cast and crew. The film, directed by Tobe Hooper and produced by Steven Spielberg, tells the story of a suburban family terrorized by angry spirits invading their home. It became an instant classic, but soon after its release, people started whispering that Poltergeist was cursed. The rumors began when it was revealed that the production allegedly used real human skeletons during the famous muddy pool scene. According to multiple accounts, using real remains was cheaper than making plastic replicas, a decision that would later be linked, at least symbolically, to the film's supposed curse. Then, the tragedy started. Just months after the movie's release, Dominique Dunne, who played the teenage daughter Dana, was murdered by her ex-boyfriend outside her home. She was only 22 years old. Years later, Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann, the little girl known for the chilling line, "They're here," suddenly fell ill and passed away at the age of 12, just before Poltergeist 3 was released. Her death was ruled as a result as septic shock caused by a misdiagnosed intestinal condition. Two main cast members from the sequel, Poltergeist 2, also died in strange circumstances. Julian Beck, who played the terrifying preacher Cain, succumbed to cancer, and Will Sampson, who portrayed a Native American shaman, died following a failed heart and lung transplant. All of these tragedies fueled the belief that the Poltergeist films were cursed. Cast and crew have spoken over the years, with some dismissing the idea as coincidence, while others admit that eerie things did happen on set. From sudden equipment malfunctions to unexplained cold spots and lights flickering during key scenes, the stories only deepen the movie's unsettling legacy. Whether it was a string of coincidences or something more sinister, Poltergeist has become the blueprint for what people call the Hollywood curse. What started as a ghost story for entertainment somehow turned into one of the most chilling legends in movie history, one that still haunts horror fans to this day. When The Omen hit theaters in 1976, it terrified audiences with its chilling story of a young boy who might be the Antichrist. But what happened behind the scenes of this film was even more disturbing. A series of bizarre tragedies and near-fatal accidents that led many to believe The Omen was cursed. It began before filming even started. Actor Gregory Peck's son took his own life just 2 months before production began. Despite the tragedy, Peck went on to take the role of Robert Thorne, a man raising a child born of evil. When Peck flew to London to start filming, his plane was struck by lightning mid-flight. A few days later, producer Mace Neufeld's flight was also hit by lightning. 2 different planes, same week. Then came the car crash. Screenwriter David Seltzer narrowly avoided a collision that killed 2 people. Around the same time, a hotel in which Neufeld was staying was bombed by the IRA, forcing him to evacuate only minutes before the explosion. Crew members began whispering that something dark was following them. Even the animals on set seemed affected. During the zoo sequence, baboons violently attacked the car, genuinely terrifying the actors inside. The trainer responsible for the animal scenes was killed shortly after filming, mauled by a tiger at a safari park. But perhaps the most horrifying coincidence of all came after production ended. Special effects artist John Richardson, who created the movie's decapitation scene, was involved in a car accident while working on another film in Holland. His assistant was tragically decapitated in the crash, eerily similar to the death scene he had designed for The Omen. Richardson later claimed that when he looked up, he saw a road sign nearby that read, Omen, 66.6 kilometers. By the time The Omen was released, the stories had spread through Hollywood like wildfire. A film about the Antichrist seemed to carry a darkness of its own, one that left tragedy, coincidence, and fear in its wake. Even decades later, cast and crew members still admit the production felt off, as if something unseen was attached to it. Whether it was fate, coincidence, or something darker, The Omen remains one of the most cursed productions in film history. When The Exorcist hit theaters in 1973, it terrified audiences in ways no movie ever had before. Viewers fainted, theaters called ambulances, and religious groups protested outside cinemas, calling the film evil. But behind the scenes, reality was just as terrifying as fiction. From the very start, the production was plagued by a string of disturbing incidents that made the cast and crew question whether they were truly dealing with something supernatural. First, a fire broke out on set, completely destroying the house interior used for filming. Strangely, the only room left untouched was Regan's bedroom, the room where the exorcism takes place. Director William Friedkin was so shaken that he brought in a priest to bless the set before continuing production. Then came the injuries. Ellen Burstyn, who played Regan's mother, was seriously hurt during a scene when she's thrown to the floor. The scream you hear in the movie is her real cry of pain. Linda Blair, just 12 years old, also suffered a back injury during one of her violent possession scenes. But the true horror wasn't limited to the set. In total, 9 people connected to the film reportedly died before, during, or shortly after production, including actors Jack McGowan and Vasiliki Malieros, who both portrayed characters that die in the film. To make matters even creepier, parts of the movie were filmed in Iraq, where the crew faced bizarre technical problems and extreme weather that delayed shooting for weeks. Some even claim they brought back bad energy from the location, fueling the so-called curse of The Exorcist. When the movie finally released, chaos erupted. Audiences screamed, fainted, and some even had panic attacks. Reports of heart attacks and exorcisms being requested in real life began circulating across the country. Decades later, The Exorcist remains one of the most chilling films ever made, not just for its shocking content, but for the unexplained tragedies surrounding it. Whether it was coincidence or something darker, one thing's certain: the evil that haunted The Exorcist didn't stay trapped on the screen. The Crow is one of the most visually striking and emotional dark fantasy films ever made. But behind its gothic beauty lies one of Hollywood's most tragic and unsettling stories. Production on The Crow began in 1993, starring Brandon Lee, the son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee. The film followed a musician who returns from the dead to avenge his and his fiance's murder, a haunting premise that eerily mirrored what was about to unfold on set. From the start, the shoot seemed cursed. Crew members suffered serious injuries. An electrician was electrocuted, a stuntman fell through the roof, and a crew truck caught fire. Equipment malfunctioned constantly, and weather delays plagued the set. Some even claimed there was a dark energy surrounding the production. But nothing could prepare anyone for what happened next. During the final days of filming, Brandon Lee was performing a scene where his character is shot. The gun used was supposed to contain harmless blanks, but due to a fatal mix-up, a fragment of a real bullet was accidentally lodged in the barrel. When the prop gun fired, the fragment struck Lee in the abdomen. He was rushed to the hospital, but after hours of surgery, he died at just 28 years old. The tragedy shocked the world and echoed the mysterious death of his father, Bruce Lee, 2 decades earlier. Many drew unsettling parallels between the two, both young, both at the height of their careers, and both passing under bizarre circumstances tied to their film work. After Lee's death, The Crow's production was nearly shut down, but with the blessing of his fiancée and mother, the filmmakers decided to complete the movie using early CGI and body doubles to finish Brandon's remaining scenes. When the film was finally released in 1994, it was met with critical praise and deep sorrow. Viewers couldn't shake the feeling that Brandon Lee's performance felt hauntingly real, as if he somehow knew his time was short. The movie's themes of love, loss, and resurrection took on a chilling new meaning. Today, The Crow stands as both a masterpiece of Gothic cinema and a grim reminder of how quickly tragedy can strike, even in the world of fiction. When Rosemary's Baby released in 1968, it redefined psychological horror. Directed by Roman Polanski and based on Ira Levin's novel, the film told the unsettling story of a woman manipulated into giving birth to the child of Satan. It was haunting, stylish, and deeply disturbing. But what happened off-screen would soon prove far more horrifying than anything in the movie. The first sign of the so-called curse came almost immediately after the film's release. Composer Christoph Komeda, who created the movie's eerie lullaby theme, suffered a mysterious accident, falling from a rocky slope in Los Angeles. He never recovered and died months later from a brain hematoma, eerily similar to the fate of a character in the film. Not long after, producer William Castle, who was heavily involved in promoting the movie, was hospitalized with severe kidney stones. During his treatment, he reportedly suffered terrifying hallucinations, shouting, "Rosemary, for God's sake, drop the knife." DOS doctors described his breakdown as one brought on by stress. But Castle himself believed something darker was attached to the film. But the most infamous tragedy came a year later, in August 1969. Director Roman Polanski's pregnant wife, Sharon Tate, and several of their friends were brutally murdered by followers of Charles Manson in the couple's Los Angeles home. Tate was 8 months pregnant at the time, and the horrifying crime eerily mirrored the satanic themes of Rosemary's Baby. After the murders, the media immediately connected the dots, pointing out that the Manson killings took place only a short drive from the building used for Rosemary's Baby's exterior shots, the infamous Dakota Apartments in New York City. Years later, that same building would become home to John Lennon, who was tragically shot and killed right outside its entrance in 1980, further fueling the myth that Rosemary's Baby left a lasting darkness wherever it went. The film's legacy has become permanently intertwined with these disturbing real-world events. What began as a story about paranoia, manipulation, and evil infiltrating the home seemed to manifest into reality for those involved. To this day, Rosemary's Baby stands not only as one of cinema's greatest horror films, but also one of its most cursed. The eerie coincidences, the tragic deaths, and the lingering shadows surrounding its production continue to haunt Hollywood's history nearly 6 decades later. Even behind the most terrifying films ever made, the real horror sometimes happens when the cameras stop rolling. Whether it's unexplained accidents, tragic losses, or strange coincidences that defy logic, these stories remind us that darkness doesn't always stay on screen. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next investigation into the unknown. And remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that really happened.